And now, a message from our sponsor, Flamingo. Every multifamily marketer wants to know what the next big thing will be. At the apartment department, we think that resident retention is the next big thing, which is why we're excited to have Flamingo as our podcast sponsor. Flamingo, founded by Jude Chai, is an all-in-one resident retention platform used by some of the top-performing communities in the country. And here's a fun little secret. If you see a community with 300 plus online reviews and 65% plus retention, there's a good chance they're using Flamingo. From automated renewal management and resident events to amenity bookings and even an AI concierge, Flamingo brings everything together in one sleek app that residents actually use. Learn more at getflamingo.com. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Apartment Department, Part 2 at Zillow Rentals Unlock. I'm Ann Baum, and with me as always is my co-host Chris Johnson. And instead of one special guest, we have two special guests with us for this episode. First, we have Brent Camp. He is the Vice President of Leasing at Asset Living. And then we have Arthur Kosmider, who is the Head of Marketing and Customer Experience at LeFrak. So thank you both for joining us. This is so exciting because we are going to talk about something that's on everyone's minds, and that is how AI is being implemented into organizations, both from a marketing and operations standpoint. And it's really great because, you know, when we were planning this episode, both of you have very different experiences in how you've implemented AI tools at your organization. So if you guys each want to just do a little brief introduction about yourself, and then I'll go ahead and jump into questions.
Absolutely. So my name is Arthur Kosmider. I oversee a portfolio of 20,000 units between New York, Metro, as well as Florida, Miami. A-class assets, heavily reliant on technology, and our adventure with AI began simply by identifying a need for a more efficient, more automated process. And we've been very successful at implementing AI from the resident services side of things, focused heavily around the renewal processes, delinquency and maintenance, and it actually helped us streamline our portfolio.
That's awesome. I can't wait to dive into that more. Brent, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I am Brent Camp, Vice President of Leasing with Asset Living. Asset Living is a third-party manager. We support 450,000 units across the nation. We started our journey in AI about 4 years ago, invested heavily in the lead nurturing products, and to Arthur's point, we were looking to create efficiencies. Post-COVID, I think that we've really seen a lot of uptick in lead volume on sites, expectations of site teams, and we really wanted to create efficiencies around how can we prevent burnout of our site teams. How can we automate some of the more mundane processes? So that's kind of where we started our AI journey at Asset.
All right, that sounds great. Tell me a little bit about specifically, so there's a lot of talk like we implemented AI, but specifically, what does that mean? Like what processes did you automate, or where were you really looking to gain efficiencies? And Arthur, you can go first.
Of course. We, as an organization, we never really jump into technology just because everybody else is doing this, right? For us, the journey to start with AI was based on the fact that there's a ton of repeatable processes that our teams are doing every day, things that we consider to be low value, that could be automated, that could be created in a way that we free up our bandwidth for all of our regional and property teams to do other things. So the philosophy behind automating the routine and humanizing the exception kicked in, where we actually want our property managers and our property teams to be focused on providing the most excellent resident experience rather than dealing with tasks like following up on unpaid rent or checking in on the status of a ticket on maintenance. So that's why we really leaned into the technology piece, into AI and automation, not to reduce the staff, not to make dramatic changes to our portfolios, but simply to really reprioritize what's important to the property operations.
Yep. And I think that's becoming a really big theme now. Is originally, I think the conversation around AI was like, oh, we can automate things to reduce headcount. And I think the story is rapidly changing to, no, we can implement AI to allow our workforce to do the right thing and really make our organizations better. So Brent, what about you? When you say you implemented AI, what were some of the specific examples within your organization?
Yeah, so we, again, started with lead nurturing, and we were looking to do the same. We wanted to really figure out how can we elevate the resident experience. We weren't really looking to reduce headcount. We were just looking to really reimagine what an office site team can be capable of, and really what their focus should be. And the focus should always be the resident. We're in a time now where everyone has an expectation of that Amazon level convenience. You have to have that 24/7 customer support functionality. So that's what we were looking to solve for, is just continuing to stay innovative, continuing to really stay ahead of our competition and make sure that when people are reaching out to us, we're meeting them where they're at, and we're meeting that demand.
And to add to Brent's point, and I absolutely agree with you with this, one of the biggest slippery slopes you can have when you're implementing AI is this concept of like, I'm going to implement AI, and because of it, I'll reduce staff by X. You're creating this unrealistic expectation that puts pressure on you and your operating teams, creates this sense of me versus the machine for your property teams. And it has to be an environment in which it's collaborative, and the team needs to feel that the AI coming in is not coming in to replace them, but to actually enhance their processes and make their job better. Because none of our property teams want to be the ones following up with the residents about the delinquent rent, right? They would rather have an interaction that deepens the connection to a resident, so they actually welcome that ability of saying, hey, you know what, I don't need to worry about this because AI has that part covered, and let me focus on the high impact.
Absolutely.
What results have you seen with your teams in being able to take some of that off their plate to refocus maybe on events or the move-in process or the things that actually matter to us to actually retain our residents, which is so huge, right? Like retention is so big. What results are you seeing?
I would say it's exactly that. We brought events back. During COVID, everyone kind of shuttered their doors. They quit having events. And in a few of our markets, it was kind of slow to roll that back out because everyone got used to that type of expectation of, we're just here to lease apartments. No, we are doing one of the most important things that we can do, which is providing homes. And these are real humans, and we have to meet them at a human level. So exactly that. We went back to, let's host resident events. Let's ensure that we're communicating timely with our residents. We're being proactive. We're delivering the best experience that they want to come back, they want to renew, they want to refer their friends. And by doing so, we created a ton of efficiencies with our entire organization. If we can increase retention, increase reputation, increase referral traffic, well, that directly impacts me as a marketer. Now I can lean back off of having to be so reliant on advertising spend. I can reallocate that advertising spend into more resident-focused events. And again, it's just perpetually increasing that reputation, perpetually increasing that retention score has helped us create and identify a lot of efficiencies.
Yeah, it's a great question, Chris. I divide the deliverables and the KPIs of it into two categories, right? You have the hard KPIs that you can very easily measure, as in the lift in delinquency collection or the reduction of the balances at the end of the month, NPS scores and quality scores on your customer service side of things, which are very easy to measure, right? You see the reporting, you see how it operates. But there's a tremendous amount of side effects, positive side effects to the introduction of a technology like AI, where all of a sudden your team has that bandwidth to do that extra walk through the property to identify conditions and improve them, right? Identify that maybe, we need to repaint certain aspects of the community. They have the time to put the reporting together, to be really thoughtful about their interaction, maybe spend that extra 5 minutes talking to the resident that is on the verge of renewing or not renewing, right? And create this avalanche of a side effect that's harder to measure, but actually exists and can be correlated to the rollout of AI. And even internal satisfaction of the teams themselves. They actually, I was concerned about that going into this, that they will feel threatened by the technology around them, but they actually embraced it. When we briefly suspended it for a couple of weeks, they asked, when is it coming back? Because they like it. It's part of their workflow now. That's the thing that actually makes their job easier.
Right. It's much better to be working warm leads than working a mountain of cold leads. And, same with delinquency. None of us like doing delinquency calls. So being able to automate some of those things that aren't your favorite part of the job, so you can focus on those parts of the job that really make an impact with not only your residents, but your employees, it was a paramount moment for us. It was very pivotal.
No, that's amazing. I mean, I can think if someone can automate me coding my credit card statement every month, That thing takes me like a day.
Yes.
It is my worst nightmare.
And we hate it, and it is such a workflow that we can automate. So that's really what, again, we're looking to do is identify those efficiencies so we can focus on which matters, which is our residents.
So I want to share another story with you guys. When I visit properties, I usually try to spend as much of the time that I can in the actual leasing and management offices, right? Because that gives you a little bit of an insight into how the property operates on a daily basis, what's going on, how's the dynamic with the residents and such. So one of my visits down to Florida, I spent an entire day sitting in that leasing office. The amount of interruptions my property team had
Every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
every 5 minutes. And the worst part is the residents come in for 5 minutes just to chat with you for a small little thing, asking you what the password to the lounge Wi-Fi is. And then by the time the team was able to reset back into their routine, they lost another 10, 15 minutes.
Right.
AI removed 80% of these interactions because now they have a convenient way of texting the chatbot, texting the agent and saying, hey, what is the Wi-Fi password for the lounge? What are the hours of opening? So those visits to the leasing office, which are such a disruption to their workflow, reduced significantly, right? It's another of those side effects where you could actually put a monetary value to their time on productivity, on focus, on the fact that they can actually tackle more complex tasks because they're not getting interrupted every 5 minutes.
Absolutely.
And I think it makes the site teams more accessible because as much as you have residents that are willing to go into an office and ask the questions about Wi-Fi password, you also have a set of residents that don't want to be a bother, right? And they don't want to go in the office and they don't want to ask the questions, but maybe something's bothering them.
Gen Z and millennials, they want to text. They want to tell me through text what's going on.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm the same. There's I forget what hotel I just stayed at in Vegas, but I literally was able to text them. It was amazing because there's no way I wanted to go down 20 floors, go whatever. But anyway, so I think that that's an interesting side effect too, is now you're opening yourself up to maybe a group of folks who might have, to be dramatic, suffered silently, because they didn't want to be a bother.
But I think that's what we're always trying to do is just make it easy for our prospects and residents to communicate with us in their way.
Yeah.
And AI is one of those ways that they can do it where we make it easy. And then there are some, you can't get away from it, that are going to come in and talk about their dog and their life story, and that's going to happen. But we can take some of that mundane task, even the cold leads. I mean, I think all of us as marketers want to send the best leads we can, and you just don't know when that thing comes in. It's always better to work a warm than a cold.
Well, those are the conversations I want my team having. I want them to be talking about our residents' pets and their family life, building rapport, building community. That's
Exactly.
the difference between 4 walls and a roof being an apartment complex and being a community, is being able to build that rapport. And if all we're ever communicating with them is their delinquency, work order follow-up, the things that we can automate, then we're not having that opportunity to build that rapport.
And also think about it this way, right? You brought the example of Amazon before, right? The new generations that are becoming our renters, right? The 20x years old at this point, are a completely different audience than the generations before. Mm-hmm. They don't necessarily want to talk to you in person as much. They want to be able to text you. They expect this instant gratification of getting their answers done. And I don't think a single human can be faster than the AI answering these questions. Checking in on your maintenance ticket, checking in on your package status, telling you where to pay rent for the 5th time, even though you lived here for 6 months, right? All of these things are just on the palm of your hand, right? And there's this benefit to it where I don't want to say that the resident portals are an old technology, but they start to feel very antiquated, where now you can just text a number, text your building, and the building will tell you how much rent you own without downloading an app, logging in, or clicking through links, right? It's the removal of the friction in communication that actually creates this speedway of communication to our residents. We're looking for that in leasing on the front end with prospects. We absolutely should embrace this on the resident side as well.
100%. That was well put and well said.
So
I agree.
I have a question. When you were thinking about going back to the implementation and where to implement AI, how did you do that? I mean, did you sit down? You talked about removing friction. So did you sit down and look at your existing workflows and processes and kind of data sets to see what might have where friction might exist?
Yes.
Okay. Will you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so we're a pretty large organization at Asset, and when you are trying to implement a pretty complicated tech stack at scale, you really need specialists that understand that software. you need executive leadership bought into the advocacy of that. One of the biggest cruxes I see when it comes to AI implementation, or really any marketing technology implementation, is when it's under-optimized, underutilized, it seems to always have poor performance. Well, that's relative to the implementation. If you don't have the buy-in, if you haven't built the resources to train the team on it, to manage the product, to optimize the product, you're going to have an inferior product. And that's not to say the product itself is inferior, the implementation is make or break. So at Asset, we restructured our marketing department about 4 years ago, and we really focused in on the idea of creating specialists that were specialists. So we have a dedicated marketing implementation team now that just focuses on the management, implementation, optimization of our marketing technology. They train our site teams. They ensure that we're monitoring, we're auditing that software stack. We're ensuring things don't disconnect, because that is the reality when you're not using a proprietary tech stack. When you're plugging in all of these various platforms, things are going to break. And when they do, you have to be agile, you have to be quick to repair them. So that's how we kind of took it on, was let's invest in this by building a team that can support this.
Want more from the apartment department? Find us on Substack for episodes and articles delivered straight to your inbox.
The educational piece resonates a lot with me, because you have to remember that AI is a transformational force. It's not, you're not rolling out another ILS, you're not rolling out a display screen. You're essentially undermining an entire operational workflow of communication, of technology workflow, of information flowing in. It requires a tremendous amount of thought through and planning, because one of the fastest way to really take the wind off the sail of something like this is if people don't fully understand how it's going to work, how it's going to impact their day-to-day processes, if it's not integrated fully, and when it's actually just kind of let go into the wild to fend for itself. We ran into this issue very early in the process where our operational team, because of the nature of AI, is it runs in the background a lot, right? So the team doesn't really see the impact on a day-to-day, because they don't know about the thousands of messages that get sent behind the closed doors, right? Behind the veil of AI. So when asked about the impact of AI, they're like, well, I don't really feel it's that different, right? Meanwhile, us on the corporate side, we obviously saw right away the thousands of messages going up, the delinquency being collected faster, right? So there's an important component to not only initially educate, but continuously show the impact, continuously bring everybody to the table, to the stakeholders, and say, hey, here's what we've done, here's why it's working, here are the new things we've implemented because of it. And that process never stops, because those initiatives cannot run on autopilot.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's the old adage, it's not the tool, it's the carpenter. And when the carpenter doesn't educate themselves on how to use the tool,
100%.
the tool can be ineffective, but it's because of the carpenter.
Yeah, this hammer's broken.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
no, it's, that's not
you
even
need a wrench right now.
possible.
I wouldn't use a hammer where you need a wrench. I wouldn't use a hammer where you need a screwdriver. So understanding your technology and being able to train on it, again, it's make or break for our marketing technology. We have to understand it. We have to be able to train on it. It's the only way that you're going to get full utilization of the product.
I have a question for y'all. So you've implemented, you've been running it, sounds like you have some good success. Do you notice that the lead quality has gotten better? You've gotten better, at least more people showing up for the tours because you've nurtured them better on one side, and then on the resident side, you just see a better resident satisfaction because they're getting answered quicker too. Can you talk about some of those KPIs that you've seen?
On the resident side of things, I think that our industry overall has this bias of focusing a lot of attention on the prospect side of things. What happens is, like, we court them along the way, we follow up, we nurture them, which is super important because we want them to get in.
Yeah.
And then they move in, and we blast them with 10 different solutions, sign up for all these portals, and download all of these apps.
You're late on your rent.
Yeah, figure it all out right along the way. And this is like the biggest miss, because the residents who already are at your property are your prime candidate to renew.
Absolutely.
Because nobody wants to move.
Yeah.
No.
They build communities, to your point, right? Like, they create a livelihood around the places that they live in, and it's so much easier for us to keep them happy and keep them going. Yet our industry just focuses on the next person. So what we found with a rollout of AI was, because of that mundane part of the job got automated, our teams are able to spend more time building these quality relationships, and by result of it, our customer service scores are higher, the surveys click higher, review scores are going up. I mean, our AI technology actually solicits reviews, and solicit is a bad word for it, but like encourages reviews along the way. All of a sudden you get random 20, 30 reviews on Google because guess what? We asked, right? And we didn't have to force our team to ask. The AI reached out automatically after the service ticket. That automation of like, hey, I'm sensing that we had a good time at the maintenance ticket level. You're happy with the way we fixed it. Let me just slide it in there and say, hey, could you write a review, right? It's a no-brainer, right? Like, it just feels natural, and AI just repeats it hundreds and hundreds of times, and that's where that consistency comes in. So yes, I'm a true believer that technology like that actually increases your satisfaction as a resident, and that will lead to a higher chance of renewal.
100%.
Absolutely.
No emotions with AI.
No.
I know, I was just thinking, like, in your example, like, then previously you would have to rely on a human to decipher the experience based on
and they
feelings.
don't want to ask for
Feelings are
reviews
terrible.
the same way they don't like doing collection calls.
Of course, yeah.
It's one of those things that make people inherently nervous to do. You know, it's asking someone out on a date when you're asking for a review. Did I do a good job? Did I satisfy you? So yes, when we can generate additional reviews through AI, it's incredible. And I love the question that you asked, because we get it all the time, especially as it relates to lead nurturing. Do you see more leases through this product? Inherently, the answer, if I'm going to be short about it, is it depends. Lead to tour, I've seen exponentially grow when we implement Elise AI. That is a KPI that I feel with conviction I can say pre-AI to post-AI, we see a very large increase in lead to tour. Lead to lease, though, again, it comes back down to that human element. My team still got to close. My team still got to provide a good experience. And you know, Arthur, you made the point earlier, when we can cut out the mundane, they can be on the property more. They can be at the door, opening and greeting that door. They can be walking the property to ensure that tour path is immaculate, making sure we create a good first impression. That inherently leads to the higher lease conversion. But you have to have a team that has the right focus to be able to see that lease increase.
I agree. The other thing, I just want to touch on this, with AI, as I envision it, being able to prepare for the tour and take the prospect on the tour that they want to see, we're starting to think about, do we actually need to have the same tour path, or can we think about?
You don't.
Think about. Maybe they don't care. No,
I
in
love
the sense
that.
of like
With so much conviction.
And I'm not.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, but
You're
I'm
right.
just saying, like, you don't. Maybe they don't care about the pool or the gym.
Right.
Yeah.
You ask those questions, and it's not. I'm not trying to get into the fair housing legal piece of it.
Right.
I'm just saying, what does this person actually care about when they come here? Do they want to see the balcony? Do they want to see all the amenities? Maybe they only care about the parking because
Kind of
they have
pre-qualifying their interests.
exactly,
Yeah.
and then you show them that, and that's where the AI
Or
can
you
help
need
you.
more time for that, right?
Exactly,
Like,
and that's what
creating
the AI
that's a
does.
very
You're
good
giving
point.
that extra 5
Exactly.
minutes that the person doesn't frantically run from one tour to the other and to send an email to make a phone call.
Yep.
You're creating this bandwidth in this little room for the person, for
Where
the
they can
agents
connect.
to be able to connect.
Yep.
Well, I have one comment on the leasing piece, even though we're not utilizing AI today, which we're working on. You know, I think one of the best experiences you can do to really see the impact of AI in leasing is to get into a market where some properties will have AI and some of them will not, and try to shop them. Just try to reach out to every single one of them through an ILS. One of the biggest determinant of success in leasing process is how quickly you get back to the prospect.
Yep.
You know, our industry benchmark for my team is around 35, 40 minutes to get back to every single prospect, which is relatively good. AI will do this in under 2 minutes, under 5 minutes, right? And in a lot of cases in urban markets where there's a lot of competition, the first 3 communities that get back to a prospect usually get the tour.
Absolutely.
But if you wait an hour or an hour and a half, the chances are that they will not even consider it because they already scheduled their tours for the day, they're already going to the properties. So having an AI agent to handle this initial interaction, hey, let me get you through the door, can I answer any questions, can I nurture this a little, right? Creates this environment that shows that one, the property is organized, the property has their stack together and they care about the prospects to provide that experience, opens the door for them to create a hot qualified lead right away, and even if it doesn't become a scheduled tour, at least they created that interactions for the team to sweep in and start communicating. So it absolutely contributes to it. But to Brent's point, the actual closing conversion is still with the team.
People.
That's your tour,
Yep.
that's your visit, that's the experience you'll have. but you're increasing your chances of actually getting those doors stepped
Yeah,
through.
you're
That's
getting
right.
someone in the
That's
door
right.
and they know
More people in the door helps.
is
Yeah,
good.
more people in the door, higher
game
potential to
changer.
close on those people. And you're
Equals
so
good.
right about that stat, though. You need to be in that top 3 high intent
Yep.
mindset because in 2025, moving into 2026, people are not touring 5 or 6 communities. They have too many marketplaces. They have too many ways to discover communities online. You have to be in that top 3 consideration because they are going to choose between those. They're not going to continue to tour and tour and tour. They're going to narrow down their search. They're going to go make sure the messaging they saw online through our listings, through our website, aligns with what they're seeing in person. Then they're going to make that decision.
Or they're going to use an AI search engine and you might not even
Fair.
show up. I mean,
Fair.
it's because might become even more competitive. And so you're right, like that window is shrinking because more and more information is available.
Absolutely.
And did you has your partner, so when I think about implementing AI or technology, did you take suggestions from your AI partner in terms of maybe shifting some of your best practices? And what I mean by that is maybe from a delinquency reach out, maybe they recommended changing the time frame within which you reached out. Or does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, did they allow you to kind of change your best practices for the better?
Yes.
Okay.
So what I'm a big fan of, on one hand, customizing things along the way, but on the other hand, actually learning from the best experiences in the industry, right? Like, we don't have a monopoly of always having the right way. Sometimes we get in our own way of, like, creating something super custom that ends up being super complicated. So one of the first questions I've asked to the partner of ours on AI was, teach me your ways, show me your gold standards, and tell me if my process today is inefficient and I'm willing to change it. So we've actually overhauled our renewal process where we used to generate them significantly less optimized and significantly less batched. And when we worked with Elise AI, they ended up providing us with the best practice on how to do this in the system the way they would recommend, and it actually resulted in a very automated process. So I strongly encourage you, when you begin your journeys on AI, when you start thinking about these processes, to be open-minded that even though you've done something one way for the last X number of years, there's probably some efficiency that you can learn. So
Yes.
ask those questions.
Yeah, I would agree, but I'd like to offer a counterpoint too. I mean, when we first started implementing lead nurturing, the way that we were being trained on how to implement the software and utilize the software was, don't take over this lead until they schedule the tour. That's the handoff point for your site teams. We actually worked with our AI provider, Elise AI, to say, hey, we actually don't like our site teams being trained on that. We would love for this product to, be doing follow-up in the evenings, be doing follow-up on the weekends when we're closed. But if I see activity happening overnight, the first thing I want my site team to do is pick up that phone in the morning. Confirm what they were saying in that conversation. Confirm that tour, whatever the case. But that's what I really loved about our relationship with Elise is they listened to that. And they actually changed their structure and the way that they trained and implemented their product with our site team. So I think it works both ways. We did learn some valuable lessons from them, but we were also able to give them some critical feedback of how we would like to see the product work for our site teams and our best practices.
That's amazing. And I think that they've been very transparent about that
Yes.
as a partner, that's something that they do is they're learning from their operators just as much as we're learning from them. We are almost out of time, which I can't believe.
Oh, wow.
I know, it's unbelievable. I'm so sad. Again, I always say that. I'm like,
I
can
think we have to
talk
just
for
we have to do
hours?
this again. Can't we just get
Yes,
them on
I know.
quarterly?
Can we be
Like
friends
we can
forever?
do it on
Red Bull
Zoom.
friends?
Yeah.
No, we're
This episode was brought to you
Yeah,
by
not
by
sponsored,
Red
but
Bull.
sponsored. Sponsor the apartment department, please.
But Arthur, Brent, if you can just leave us with any last thoughts for marketers who are thinking about implementing AI, starting their AI journey, anything that you want to leave our listeners with.
So look, AI is here to stay. AI is a technology that, just like internet revolutionized the way we used to advertise apartments in apartment booklets in supermarkets, all of a sudden it became all online. AI inevitably will be part of our journey. So if you're a marketer thinking about AI or you're considering AI today, hone in on your skills, learn more. There's different ways and different processes of AI that will be part of it. What we've discussed today was the operational side of things. There's also AI where I anticipate that in the next 2 or 3 years, there's going to be a search engine version of AI that we will, as marketer, have to manage, because that's where the younger generation will search for apartments, right? So that's going to be the next frontier. And then there's also the utilization of AI for you as a marketing professional, because look, I don't think that AI is going to replace our jobs, but somebody who as a marketer is skilled in utilizing AI, being 10xing their skills along the way, will definitely be a competition to you. So I strongly recommend us as marketers, as an industry, to really embrace it, and just AI is here to stay.
I agree. I would say, as a marketer, don't try to silo this into marketing or a technology department within your organization. This is impacting every single branch of our organization. And you have to get that buy-in, and you have to get that advocacy from every single group, because it makes that large of an impact. So I would say, make sure you're collaborating with your operational counterparts. Make sure you're collaborating, honestly, with legal and compliance to ensure that you're moving in the right direction. You're putting up the proper safety rails. That's something we worked early on with Elise AI, is to ensure, we understand the safety parameters you've put in place. We're going to add extra guardrails just to ensure, we are staying compliant. We are doing the right thing by our residents. So it's got to be a collaborative effort within your organization. You have to have buy-in across the organization. But I agree with Arthur's point. It's here to stay. Trendsetters trend, innovators innovate. So, keep your finger on the pulse, keep moving forward, and keep that change enthusiasm top of mind with your organization, that the sooner you can adopt this, the sooner you can master these products, the better your communities are going to be off for it.
I think that sounds wonderful. Chris, any last thoughts?
I mean, I think I'm just going out let's say 5 years with the way that it's moving. I picture having like a groundskeeper 24/7 robotics with AI.
Yeah.
Things like that is really going to change how we're doing business.
So we're just at the foundation. We're like transforming
it's
business
operations.
operations.
I think so.
Yeah.
And it's
But
happening so fast, and we're not going to adopt it first.
Yeah.
I mean, there's already companies doing it. So we're going to, we kind of follow along, but I think that we're going to get robotics in there. I don't think for everything, but on the maintenance side, I think there's going to be something there.
Yeah.
And before long, Skynet. So,
right. It's funny you mentioned that. We were I know we're running out of time here, but we were having a very lively Teams chat the other day, and I had made the comment to my group and said, I am so tired of being told of all these new AI agents, and I'm going to date myself with this reference because it happened like 10 years ago, but I want a hologram property manager, and I want it to be programmatic. I want hologram Tupac. Who's not paying their rent when hologram Tupac comes knocking at your door?
Right.
So maybe that's the next venture, is we don't need physical people. We're just going to have holograms. That would be, I think hologram property managers would do very, very well.
Hologram Tupac was at a couple of festivals.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was a thing for a while. Well, we'll remember this
Yeah.
when you become famous for hologram, you start your own technology hologram company. Arthur, Brent, we can't thank you enough. This was such a wonderful conversation. We've really enjoyed getting to spend time with both of you. It's been really wonderful, enlightening, inspiring, all the things. Thank you to our audience. Thank you to Chris, of course. Thank you to Carlos, our producer. Thank you to Flamingo, our sponsor. And until next time, this has been the Apartment Department.